Welcome back to the shed. What do you get if you cross a beanie hat with a baseball cap? You get a beanie cap. That's what we're making today. To make a beanie cap, we need a beanie hat. Our beanie hat is going to be made from segmented rings because they look cool. And I don't have a single bit of wood big enough. When it comes to planning the rings and segments, I recommend using Woodturner Pro. It's pretty easy to use, and the different views give you a good idea of what it's going to look like as a whole and as segments. What's really good about the software is, when you're done, you can save a cut list into a PDF, ready for the shed. The plan is asking for 16 segments per ring, so we need wedge number 16. We need 9 rings made of 16 segments. 9 times 16 equals 144. That's a lot of segments. Gluing these segments together is pretty boring to watch, so instead, let's take another look at the flattening process. These rings look great, but our journey to Glue Up Town isn't over. This beanie hat needs a top, and a top for the top. Gluing these rings together correctly can be a bit of a faff, so I suggest that we mark the centre point of each segment on each ring, and then extend those lines across the segment face. Those pencil marks point to the glue line of the segments above it, and vice versa. Look how easy it is to line them up. Almost too easy. We're over on the lathe now. Because we took the time and the effort to line up our pencil marks with the segments, this glue up should spin with no wobble. Before we tackle the outside, let's do the inside. I want this hat to actually fit me, and it makes sense to approach the critical task first. This feels a bit wobbly. Maybe the glue up wasn't so great. We should try up the outside first. Look at that, we've got tailstock support. This feels much more stable. The square carbide is cutting well, and we should have this round in no time. Okay, let's give the inside another try. That looks better. Square carbide tip. Taking very light cuts. Seems better than before. The tool feels stable. Ah yes, that's cutting very nicely. It shouldn't take too long. Can you see the pencil mark just left of the cutter? That's the line we're working towards. Okay guys, let's have a little chat about what just happened. That was pretty dramatic, and thankfully no one was injured. I believe the worm screw connection failed. But what should we have done instead? Look at that, it's a tenon in a chuck. Why don't we do that in the first place? Third time lucky on the inside. Look at that, it fits. The outside should be pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of removing the high spots with a square carbide bit and then creating a beanie shape with a 12.7mm spindle gouge. I'm struggling to get a shape I'm happy with. It's not the shape we designed earlier. Maybe I'm not that good at turning. Maybe it's because I've got the fear and I'm waiting for it to blow up in my face. There's no time for fear. This beanie hat needs a bobble. This is much less stressful. I mean, what could go wrong working that close to the chuck? Nothing went wrong. This is a rectangle of oak. It's going to be our beanie peak. Let's use some double-sided tape to hold it in place. Then we can mark the curve of the beanie onto the peak. And place the dovetails between those lines. We've marked out the dovetails. The next step is to cut the curve on a bandsaw. Just for fun, let's use a spoke shave to clean up the bandsaw marks. Cutting dovetails is fun, especially when using thin material that likes to flap all over the place. The coping saw is more than happy to cut away the waste, just like a normal dovetail. The fancy curved dovetail should line up with the beanie hat so we can mark the pin positions on the beanie rim. Have you ever tried to hold a beanie hat in a vise so you can cut some dovetails in it? I must say it's a first for me too. More coping saw action on the pins. And a bit of clean up with a router plane. Looking good. Well, that was fun. Why did you paint it for? That looks awful. Screw you guys. I'm going home.